ankles on KP and Denny. How are they?
They're good. I don't foresee any issue leading into tomorrow. But we didn't do a ton today, and it was purposeful. But last night even Denny was trying to come back into the game, so he was available. But I thought he had sat probably a little too long, and I kind of liked the group that was out there, so I just ran with those guys.
Do you expect them to be able to start tomorrow?
Yeah, I would hope. Right, as of right now, yes, I anticipate both of them being available.
When you watched the film, what stuck out to you that maybe you didn't mention to us last night after the game?
Well, I think I touched on it, but there were a lot of good possessions defensively. Obviously managing the quarters, and we talked about how we start quarters, end quarters is a big part of the game. Second quarter, allow them to creep back in. I think they started 18-8 run. That got them back into the game after an 11-point first quarter lead. Then, of course, the fourth quarter. It's tough to allow a 30-point quarter, especially on the road. You have a sizable advantage, up 11, I believe, with a minute 50. You got to make sure you put them away. So it's just kind of a learning thing where nothing, that we're not aware of, but just we have to see it and learn from it and try not to repeat it.
I saw you sitting and talking to Taj over there. How differently do you get to talk to Taj versus talking to not just Johnny, but even somebody like a Corey or a Denny?
I don't think it's any different as far as approach. He's got different insight, as a 14-year vet. Been around, he's kind of done it all. So I won't get into the conversation, but I think it's good to have a guy who's been battle tested and he has a different perspective on things. So I enjoy it. He's a little a veteran guy who's been around. So I think he's got a lot of things to add.
Potentially even just less basketball in the conversation, given you guys are.
I'd probably say a fraction of it was basketball. You consider just two old guys sitting around having a conversation.
Same age.
Oh, not quite.
So you see him as like a 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗓 or like a 𝗙𝗢𝗎𝗪 type role on this team, or?
I don't know. It's one thing what we observe, but I don't know what their role has been carved out directly. But similar, I guess, in nature. Their veteran presence, guys who've been through the fires a bit. I think they're willing to impart some of that experience on their younger teammates. So very few guys are willing to do that, and I think he understands that brings value, and I think upgrades, not only the young guys, but it helps our overall roster.
You guys seem to really respond after timeouts last night. How'd you use your timeouts? Did you just use it for tactics, or did you kind of try to tell everyone to calm down?
I think it's a little bit of both, where it's gets back to managing the game. Sometimes you take a timeout to curtail a run. Sometimes it's something tactical that you have to adjust to. And sometimes it's just, our guys are gassed and they need a timeout. But it's a good sign to see that, we're able to reset a bit. There's a lot of ebbs and flows throughout a 48-minute game. So managing that, giving our guys a little bit more comfort, and if things aren't going well, we'll have to take a break and try to fix it.
How about the pick and roll chemistry? It seemed like first team and second team had really good chemistry on the pick and roll. How'd you feel about that?
Overall, it was good. I thought we missed some opportunities to find the good to great, plays. I think at times when we did, it paid off. So we had more of those examples than probably the last preseason game against New York, which is a good sign to see. And obviously, we have to continue to step up and make shots. That was primarily what today was about. Just let's get in and watch the film. Obviously, we want to touch on some of the schematic stuff we'll have to see tomorrow. We'll still have shoot around to kind of iron things out, but for the second time, shooting our own arena, we don't get a chance to do it very often. So I think it would be beneficial.
And the spacing and off-ball movement, did you think that was up to par?
Solid, not great. But once again, I think it's still a work in progress where guys are getting more comfortable kind of reading their teammates. Like, where do guys, want to get their shots? What areas of the floor are they going to excel in? I think that takes a bit of some time. So I think we're getting there.
Hey, Coach, how did Will Barton's performance coming off the bench, get history and rapport with him, how did that make that conversation easier? And then did that make his envision what you saw last night?
Yeah, you know what? We had the conversation, and I told him when he got here that nothing was etched in stone at that point, but I felt like he was a better fit coming off the bench, and he knows it's not necessarily who starts, but who finishes. I like the balance it's given us, and I think he can excel in that role. He's a guy that can play out of pick and rolls. I think he's dynamic enough to create his own shot. So to have that weapon kind of in your back pocket, you can utilize it when you need it. And, the end of the game, of course, is going to, whatever's needed in that moment is what we're going to use. So I liked what he did last night. I think slow to start, but once he got going in typical thrill fashion, he can turn it on.
What did you learn from the team last night when Indiana made their run and you guys were able to sustain that?
One, they were able to sustain runs like that, but we still can't put ourselves in that situation. But it speaks volumes to know that we were able to stay poised, not get rattled, and finish out the game for sure.
Brad, with kind of a night to absorb everything, what are you seeing from the tape that stands out to you? Either things you really want to correct right away or things that you guys did well?
We keep a lot of that stuff in house, but it was just know we have a lot that we can get better at. There's a lot we know that we did well, but there's always room for improvement. We all know our transition defense wasn't the greatest, so the biggest thing is making our defense better, because that eliminates a lot of the mishaps we may have on offense and vice versa. Kind of making sure we get good shot selection, our spacing, which leads out to sometimes our bad transition and things like that. So just making sure that we're on page, on the same page, and executing the right way. You
mentioned Rui last night. I think right after you saying Kuz and KP were really big, and we need Rui to be big too. What do you want to see from him this year?
Just being confident. Being aggressive at all times, especially being in the second unit. He and Will are going to have the reins of pretty much being aggressive at all times. They're going to be the scorers in that group. So whenever he's out there, we need him aggressive at all times. He's a mismatch problem. Super versatile. So what he's been doing all summer and preseason, we need him to just continue to ramp it up and be better and continue to do that.
2 years ago when Russ was here, it was always telling Rui, be more aggressive, be more aggressive. Is it a little bit less that you have to do that, or is it still kind of just reminding him?
I still have a little Russ in my head telling me to do that, but it's a lot. I won't say easier, but it's a kind of a weight lifted off your shoulders, knowing that you don't have to do the scoring every single night. You don't have to carry that load. There's so many guys who can contribute and who can be aggressive and create plays too. So I think me just giving them that confidence and giving them that opportunity will only just help us, as we continue to advance in the season and move forward, and hopefully being a playoff pitcher, that'll propel us for those moments.
How'd the pick and roll with KP feel? You guys did really well on that.
We're still figuring it out, obviously, but we love our chemistry where it is. I'm still trying to figure out where he loves the ball, where he likes his ISOs. He's still figuring that out with me as well. But we know that we're going to be really tough to guard. Especially if a lot of teams want to switch, that creates a lot of mismatches, and you got to make a decision now. You're going to either have a big guard me or a small guard him, and so we just try to keep defenses on their toes, and we know that that's our duo can do that.
Do you think the offense really flowed well? People were in the right spots generally?
Oh, for sure. I think we have to be better at making the extra pass. I think there's a lot of times we shot the ball contestingly and we had some guys open. But for the most part, we do a really good job of getting in the paint. Attacking the basket was what we did really well the other night, but we got to make sure we get some more threes up.
Defensively against Chicago, what kinds of things are you going to be trying to take away from them?
Well, we got to try to cool 𝗙𝗢𝗟 down. He's always hot and starts the year off this way. But he and Zach, if Zach is able to go, those are their two workhorses. So they feed off their back, and Vucevic too. So we got to understand that 𝗙𝗢𝗟 needs to see bodies, and we can't let the rest of the other guys kind of be too big of factors in the game. Everybody's a pro, so you're not going to disrespect anybody. But we got to eliminate them and make it difficult on them as well, just as like we will with 𝗙𝗎.
Can you walk us through that block you had in the game's final minute and a half?
I was pissed.
Right.
I was mad. I was mad. I thought I got fouled on a rebound, and I was upset because we couldn't get a rebound. I thought I actually had one, and then I give up a rebound. I'm pissed at myself. So I damn near almost want to foul him, to be honest with you. But I went up and just made a good play. Teammate was vertical, and I just made a play on the ball.
Hey, Brad, curious. A lot of your teammates said, they're not really into this underdog role. Some are. What's your take on that? Is teams not really overlooking the Wizards?
I mean, I love that. We're pros just like everybody else. I always tell guys, my dad told me when I was younger, everybody laces them up, puts their shorts on the same way you do. So you don't fear anybody, and that's kind of our approach. And other teams have that same approach with us. They know it's not going to be easy. They know we're going to be competitive. They know we're young and versatile, and we're going to get after it. So, it speaks volumes. But we can't worry about outside noise and what other people's opinions are of us. We got to control what we can control and play Wizards ball.
I know you said you were happy with 5 and double figures. Just what does that speak about this team's versatility?
Volumes, constantly makes West's job a little harder, but it's beautiful in the fact that there's so many guys that can contribute to our success, and so many guys that are able to grow. And I think that's what I love the most about it, is just seeing young guys have an opportunity to grow into their role of who they can be, moving forward. So that's exciting to see. But it's not perfect, obviously. We still got to work at it, still be better at it. But it's good to know that we're trending in the right direction. Yeah.
The feel?
Felt good. We came out, we handled business, kind of shaky at the end, but we pulled through, we figured it out, came out with the W, so that's the main thing.
Just getting that second unit going, that rotation, I guess, what kind of chemistry do you guys feel that you have already, and what's kind of the work still to go?
Chemistry was great. It was, like Adacious at first, we were still trying to figure it out. First game jitters. Of course, it was a season opener in Indiana. The energy was through the roof. Of course, but we came out and we handled business. Once we got locked in and once we, got going and got flowing, it was just, just like bread and butter. We figured it out, got passes, made plays, executed, played defense. We made sure we did all the things that we had to do in the second unit, most definitely.
You talked about playing with poise. Last night you showed that. Just what was you proud of last night's performance from your standpoint?
Most definitely just, my aggressiveness. I've been really just trying to get back to, I would say the old me and just, playing a lot more physical, not being the guy that's getting pushed around all the time, really just bringing the physicality to the game at first instead of, letting somebody initiate it for us. That's the main thing, and just being out there and just, being the energy guy, being the anchor on defense, talking to guys, making sure we know where we need to be, how we need to be, and when we need to do it, little things like that. So all in all, I feel like I did a pretty good job in most of that. It's still some things that I would say I'm going to get better at throughout the season, but for sure, all in all, like I said, I feel like I did pretty good last night.
And then thoughts on the second unit as well?
The second unit, like I said, we came out and we did what we had to do. The first unit came out, they started the game off great. Energy was through the building, and we came out and picked up basically where they left off.
You and Will have really good chemistry on the pick and rolls. How does it feel to work with him, and how do you feel like you guys could progress throughout the season?
Of course, our chemistry is great because, he talks to me all the time. He's like, look, I'm going to find you, whether it's late, whether it's early, whenever you're on the floor, running the floor, just run the floor for me and I'm going to find you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Made sure that I get him open with my screen set and he makes sure he gets the ball to me whenever he needs to. Or if he's finishing, I tell him to get it on the rim, I'm coming right behind him to get it off the rim. So main thing is, we talked about it most of the time through our practices, through our shoot arounds, whatever. We figured out our niche, set a screen, I'm going to roll, he going to find me. If he doesn't find me, he's going to lay the ball up, plain and simple.
Did you feel like the offense was smooth and like you guys were in the right spots? Everyone felt like, it was going easily?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm about to say the execution was good on our part last night. We finally locked in and we finally figured out, how to get our set up and be able to just execute without having the team speed us up throughout our execution. So that was a real good thing for us last night.
What did you learn about the team when Indiana made that run and you were able to sustain it?
That we've gotten better in holding our composure when it comes to stuff like that. Coach said they was going to try to speed us up at one point in time, and that's when they did. It was at the end of the game. So when it came to us trying to, lock in and figure out ways to, either extend the lead or just hold the lead until the end of the game, that was the main thing. We locked in and we held our composure. We held our poise. Guys was frustrated, of course, but we got guys on the team that know how to, pick the next guy up. That's the main thing. So at the end of the game, we came into the locker room. It was like, yeah, it was rough, but at the same time, we made it through.
4 dunks yesterday. Were any of them particularly your favorite out of any of them?
Most definitely the first one, because I feel like that's what got me going. It's I think it was last year. I think it was either preseason or at the beginning of the season and whatnot. �𝗢𝗢𝗓𝗓, he told me, he was like, what you need to do is get yourself going as a dunk. That's all it is, and he kind of like piggybacked off that after every game and stuff. That's all you need is just one dunk and whatnot. And so that's what kind of got me going. So I really appreciate the first one. Then I appreciate the first one too because of the fan that was in the background tapping his head. I like that.
For you, obviously, early foul trouble was something you struggled with a little bit last year. I guess what's the adjustment, or is there no adjustment coming off the bench and your mentality defensively?
Really just, figuring out when to go help and when not to. Being in the right place at the right time, making the right reads, and just being smart all in all. If I got a block attempt, go for it. If I don't, be vertical. And if I'm not in a position to go for a block, don't go for it at all. It's always going to be, I'm always going to be in a position to where I'm holding the guy on the perimeter, and I'm not going to be in help side most of the time. But when I am, that's when I have to be smart in those certain situations. And if I'm on the perimeter, being able to move my feet, not reaching, not getting mentally fatigued, not getting fatigued in general, just, guarding guys, plain and simple.